Welcome to another episode of the Planet Coaster series, and we're going to be starting out trying to cover up this weird gap that this ride has. I tried moving it around, and I think I might actually... No, I edited it out. I did spend some time trying to move it around and see if it would fit better, one way or the other to the sides, but just wasn't working. So I was going to try to do kind of the straight walls but at angles so that I could kind of make a circle, but it doesn't work like that with buildings. So if I had maybe chosen a shape or something to use instead of walls, it might have worked, but that seemed like a lot of work, so we ended up with this square. We're going to be leaving it at that stage for quite some time. I'm going to try different angles with it towards the path, but I think I'm going to go back to the original. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is try putting ceilings on it, but I'm not going to like that. I really like the way it's going to turn out, but it's going to be a bit before I get around to figuring out what I want to do there. First off, I wanted to take the time to have the right sequences set up to what is one of the higher prestiges that you can get, and I use a guide for that, but I'm going to sit here, I'm going to wait it and let it go, forget about it, come back, and later it's going to be 0. Which is a major problem. But I was also getting this one set up, getting all of the sequences done. There's quite a few of them. It's like 1 and 6 over 4 times, which is quite a pain to set up, but it works well on that ride. Holy cow. I think it's going to be one of the highest prestiges we have in the entire park. So that's kind of mind-boggling. But I thought about having it so that this square had a ceiling floor thing, and then we just bring it all the way forward, so it would just be some kind of floor around the ride, but I couldn't get it to be where it wasn't clipping. But yeah, that's when I realized that it had a 0. Actually, I guess I don't actually see it there. I was looking for something very particular, so I had very narrow vision, I guess. I'm actually going to spend quite a bit of time trying to figure out this queue. Nothing looked right. I'm even going to move the entrance in a bit, I think. And I do try to have it line up with this other ride. Luckily, I figured out how to do that, because you can't just start... Excuse me. You can't just start the path on its own. You need to have started it on either the main path or on the ride. And what I wanted to do was have it even, but I couldn't do that. But luckily, I figured out how to do it by deleting a bit. Here we're adding a priority pass. I don't know that it's really worth it for them, but we'll hopefully... I don't think I'll be using them in the next playthrough, because I'm not good at making them useful. Here's where I realized it's a 0, and my mind was blown. So I reset it back to its default ride sequence, and we're gonna just sit here while it does that. And it actually does get back its prestige, which is good. And then I go back to having it to the sequence that I had set up to for a bit, and I tested it off screen, and it worked. It got up to this 500. So that was good. And our Witch's Brew is now very old, so we can either rebrand it, or we can wait for it to become a classic. I'm going to just leave it to be a classic. And the path on the right is actually quite a bit higher than the path on the left. So I'll be working on that in a second. But I realized I had these big old snow clumps. I was like, I probably could have been using this to my advantage somewhere on here. So I went and put some close to that staff building, just to add a little bit more, because I don't know what to do with it. I started out wanting to just cover this middle area so that this poor ticket accepting person wasn't just standing in the air. But then I figured I might as well get all of it kind of covered up, so we're going to be building it up with these snow rock clump things to kind of cover up it's not a gap, but it's like an orange foundation to the path. I'll be filling this up with some rocks. I'm going to go back and change that in a bit. It ends up being too rocky, too pointy and clumpy. I didn't like the look of it. So I'll be adding a little bit to it in a bit, but we're just making sure everything's covered like I want. There we go. I wanted to add some of the smoother snow to kind of compensate for all of the pieces in there. Add a little bit of slope. There we go. And there. I think it blends together quite a bit better that way. And we're just gonna finish up covering up what little bits of yellow that we can. Oh my god, that thing's huge. But there we go. We're gonna be there, and I think there's like 1 or 2 more places, and then we'll be done with this path. I just didn't want it floating for no reason, so it looks kind of cool like this was somewhere where the snow built up, and that's what's going on. Here I'm trying to adjust this box to be lower so that it isn't clipping with the ride, because I think if you get to a certain height it won't clip, but it's like halfway down there, which is pretty useless to me. So I actually just decided to make it taller. Eventually I had to make sure it wasn't floating as well, because that is the purpose of this thing, is to hide the floating. So we're going to make it a little bit taller, and I'm going to be turning it into kind of a scenery, a background thing using the gingerbread. So I'm going to be putting a whole nother layer on the back so that I can remove some of the ones in the front and it'll still be covered, I guess. So we're gonna get that done, remove that guy, and now I'm going to be taking off, I'm actually gonna put one of those back, this whole top row and be turning them into roofs. So I thought this ride kind of looked like the Santa sleigh kind of a deal, and so what I was trying to portray was that these are roofs of a house and that you're flying through a city and you're going past all of these buildings, rooftops. I don't know why it didn't occur to me that those were 2 very different shapes when I first picked them up. So that's what we're going to be doing, is just decorating these to kind of match the buildings in the area without being actual buildings. So we're going to be doing lots of Christmas lights. We're going to be doing the frosting to make it look like they're covered in snow. But yes, unfortunately, I don't know why, but the angles of this doesn't match on the actual snapping, so I had to go on my own. And I also wanted a variety of colors. I kind of forgot to go back and do something that I wanted to do, because it kind of ends up being that only half of this is covered in lights and the other half wasn't. So I should have been like every other, or try to space them out better, but I forget. At least I think I did. Or I forgot that I didn't forget. One of the 2. So here I'm trying to find where in the world that icing is that goes across the top that looks like snow. It's in this area, I guess, but I'm always too far into like the file system. I don't know what else to call that, like the categories, to find it easily. But I finally found it. And we're going to be putting this across the tops to make it look like such a snowy little landscape. I'm really happy with this one, how it turned out. I don't even know how I thought of it, but I'm pretty happy that I did. Unfortunately, like, you would think that the 4 meter, I guess, I don't know if that's what that stands for, but the 4 long one would match with like the 4 long roof, but I guess it doesn't. It's probably because the triangles are going to have to be a bit longer to cover the same distance as if it was in the square, but meh, I don't know. It's been a long time since I mathed. I kind of wish that there was a reset. Oh, there is. Oh my god. How did... It's so obvious now that I'm not in the game. I was going to say, I wish there was a way to reset these lights to their default. But there is. I was looking for something on this main menu in the bottom right corner, but if you look when I'm in changing the colors, it actually has the reset button on each of the individual colors. So, well, poo. If only I paid some attention. Oh well. I kind of wanted this to make it look like it was one solid string across this roof. I kind of wanted it to be like one building with the 2 peaks, but unfortunately they kind of clip really badly, these lights do, especially these flashy ones, because it looks like what they've done is they have a square of color over top of it, over the circles. So if you get one of your other lights too close to one of the other ones, their boxes will collide, even though they're not physically colliding. You'll see it later on, but it's really weird. I don't know why that's the case, opposed to just having the circles be the colors, but I don't understand programming, so there's probably a very good reason, but I just don't know it. Here I was adding some of this cookie waffle thingy. I think it makes a really cool roof. on that house. Kind of makes it look like maybe a tower. And then I decided to be adding some of these candies to separate the houses on their bases. I had a lot of trouble deciding if I wanted it to be really simple or really detailed, like maybe a silhouette, kind of just give the idea of it, or if I wanted it to be a little more detailed, and I went with the slightly more detailed. Mostly because otherwise it's just a bunch of gingerbread. So here we're adding some windows in the houses, add a different variety on each of the buildings. Yeah, here you can see I have 2 houses on the left with lights, 2 on the right. Did I say the right? 2 on the left with lights, 2 on the right without the lights. It's late, guys. I apologize. Here I considered putting on different types of roofs, patterns, but it didn't really make sense because in my mind the peaks were to the side and like you're facing it opposed to the opposite. So we just add some brick on the main building on that one instead. And add a little bit to separate the floors. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that because it kind of mimics the shape of the lights on the 2 next to it. But I did want something separating them because I didn't want to bring that brick up into the triangle part. So that's what I did. Here I decided to try to use this little hard candy as like a chimney. I think it looks really cool because then I'm going to use this for smoke, and having it like pop off of the build makes it even look cooler. So I really am happy that I was able to think of that. And then we're going to be choosing one of these chocolates to put on a chimney on this little guy, and we're going to use a different one of the icings for its smoke. But it looks so cool with like the I couldn't decide if I thought those were stars or if I wanted them to be snow. Still not sure. I think it looks really cool though. And as they fly past it. Though I think most of this ride is going backwards, so I don't know how much of it they'll see, but it'll look cool when they're going up to it. Then I'm going to be putting up these reindeer along the path that they walk along, the queue. Because I kind of wanted it to imply that it was Santa's sleigh, and so I thought it would be cool to have these reindeer around. I wanted them involved somehow, and I considered putting them on the houses, but they're unusually large. Excuse me. They're very large compared to the building. Like, they're the entire roof size. I'm so tired of saying that. The more I say it, the less it sounds like a word, and the worse I'm probably saying it. But I wanted to have some of these lights to look like the reins and stuff between each of the deer, or reindeer rather, but it just doesn't end up working very well. I even tried doing these little tiny pieces so that I could be more in control of the shape, because when it was just straight, it'd go from the neck of the one to like the nose of the other one. Like you couldn't use the straight long one and make it look nice. So tried using these little ones to kind of make it more the shape I wanted, and it still wasn't quite right. I think I would have had to take the time to design like a harness or something, but it just kind of looked random. So it's all gone now, which is so sad after all that work. Here I'm trying to decide what else I could do. I kind of wanted to see if I could think of a way to build up a sleigh, because if I could do that, I would have had the reindeer coming off of that, maybe in the background of the queue, kind of like beside where the houses are. But I couldn't think of anything that would be really conducive to making the sleigh like I wanted to. So I moved on to putting some of the landscaping over here by the edge of the cliff. We're using all these little bushes that look like they're covered in snow. We've used these iron ones that are pink, which just look nice over here, and one big snow tree. I do wish that we had more snow-covered foliage, just a bush covered in snow or something like that would be really nice. Using these stars again because I'm a fan. I think they look really cool once it gets dark, and it adds a little bit to the area without having to be too much. And we're going to put one right here in the middle. Unfortunately, the angles of the star is very strange, and so it makes moving them around really difficult. Then I tried out this new star that I hadn't used yet, and it looks really cool, especially at night, because I think it's kind of green and gold on its own, but at night it's the kind of the same color as the blue one, which was really cool. And then I put up a big old star on this tree, though I don't know that this tree could support that thing. It's really big. It'd have to be a very light structure for it to work right. I did consider putting ornaments around on that tree, but I just didn't. I don't know if I want to go back and do so, like I've done 2 or 3 times now. Then I realized I should probably get around to putting in some more, go English, some more of these lights, because after the first day that we were working around here, I haven't really put any down, and so I'm going to be filling out this whole area with the lights, and then the garbage and the benches and all of the like. I started a career version of this game on my own time, and holy cow, they have a lot of garbage cans. Like, it makes me doubt how I set up things generally, because they had lights about this frequently, and then next to every single one of them there was a garbage can, and they were still littering on the ground. I don't understand. Like, every 2 feet there was another garbage can, and still they put it on the ground, and they weren't even full. I can't comprehend their laziness. So some people just litter no matter what, which is mind-boggling. I saw somebody do that in high school, and I was so disappointed in him. He was like drinking a chocolate milk, and just as he walked, he tossed it into the bush, and I was like, we're not talking anymore. Like, I have such a problem with that level of laziness, because we had just walked past a garbage bin and we were going somewhere that had one. Like, why would you do that? I don't understand. It's not that hard to hold an empty carton for a few minutes of a walk. Fine. Anyway, coming down from a rant from high school, I couldn't decide what else to add in this area. I really wanted something in this middle bit between the priority and the standard queue, but I don't know what theme to go with on this other ride. If you guys have an idea, I'd like to hear it. I was kind of thinking about maybe trying to make it as if that thing they're riding is like a toy, so maybe having presents and a nutcracker over there. I don't know. I liked these candy cane lights though, so I'm putting them in somehow. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that they are the blinky lights, which I think can be kind of obnoxious, but it's probably because I'm in such a fast mode. I'm in like the speed 3 when I'm working on it, so it looks really obnoxious. Probably not so bad in the standard speed, but we'll see. I haven't spent a whole lot of time with it running since I've started doing this decorations. I don't like getting all the notifications that my park is failing. We have enough money to kind of ignore that right now, especially because we won't be doing this for too much longer. We've got about a week and a half. It just occurred to me how annoying that is, that it ends in the middle of the week. Because we have 3 more episodes. Oh well. I guess I'll just have to do. But yeah, I added these big candy canes to kind of finish off the little separation that we have here. I kind of thought about doing the little loopy ones to match the thing, but it didn't make sense that they were just floating there, so I attached them to the straight one. Here you could see that the color of the lights is a square over top, because the bottom one was layered just right so that it was getting the colors of the string above it, even though the circles weren't touching at all. So yeah, that's something I have to keep in mind when I put those down and around. So we're putting up the price. Yeah, look at that. 1,600. That means we can have like 48 or something like that for the price of this ride, which I think is by far the most expensive ride we have. Oh man, I better put... Hopefully, if I don't remember to do this, remind me in the comments of the next video. We need to put a... what are those called? Not like hospitals, like the med bay area thingy. I can't think of the proper name of it. For them getting sick, because I guarantee that ride will make them vomit all over. So we need to put that as close as possible. Here I was putting these little snow generator thingies into the ride, but unfortunately the middle one I put down wasn't in the middle, and I couldn't select it. So it's just going to be there for now. I'm just going to have to accept it. Here I'm giving them their new music. But I think that's going to be pretty much it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.